Hello, I'm Christopher Mee, and today we'll be talking about recording in unideal spaces. So here are some of the projects that I've worked on in the past few years. My background is in audio engineering and engineering for music in general, so most of the projects I've worked on in the past are albums or short films. So why record your own sounds, particularly for video games? Well, the main reasons are that professional sound libraries are often very pricey, and they don't provide you with everything that you want or need. On the other hand, free sound libraries are very inconsistent in quality, and they tend to be very tedious to work with. Additionally, sync becomes a lot easier when you're directly recording to footage, so if you're working on cinematics, this is what I would recommend you do. And furthermore, recording your own sounds gives your game a very unique and tailored sonic quality. So alongside custom dialogue and creature noises, it could really help with your storytelling. Before we dive into the recording process itself, let's talk about acoustics. When it comes to DIY recordings, the architecture of your space really is your biggest enemy. Parallel surfaces in particular are very problematic as they create unwanted flutter, which is this high buzzing noise that lingers in the air anytime sound is produced in a very poorly treated space, or most spaces to be honest. If you were to clap really loudly in your room, you'll immediately notice this unpleasant phenomenon, and it's absolutely horrendous for recordings. For flat surfaces in a confined space to not produce flutter, they have to be at least 10 degrees out of parallel, so irregular shaped rooms really do work to your advantage. But let's take a look at an average bedroom. So here are all the surfaces mapped out, and if we look a little closer, you can see that there are three sets of parallel surfaces in a typical bedroom, meaning that every single surface is a reflective surface. So what can we do about it? Let's take a look at the absorption capabilities of common materials. The closer the coefficient is to 1, the more effective the material is at absorbing that particular frequency range. Vice versa, the closer the absorption coefficient is to 0, the poorer the absorption and the more reflective said material is at specific frequencies. As you can see, I've highlighted certain values on the chart, and with the data available to us, we can see that heavy fabrics such as carpets and thick curtains are very effective against high and mid frequencies. Furthermore, wood is a good material for treating low frequencies. Acoustic tiles, though great for the whole spectrum, are something that we're not going to talk about as they get very pricey pretty easily and they don't work particularly well for a cost-effective solution like we are trying to achieve here. Simple acoustic treatment, however, doesn't have to be particularly expensive. Utilizing everyday household items, we can make your room a more suitable environment for recording. Bookshelves filled with books of varying lengths and thicknesses are great for diffusing reflections. Heavy curtains, as seen in the previous slide, are great for absorbing mid and high range frequencies. This is great because glass itself is a very reflective material, so when recording, you would probably want to cover them up, if not almost always. And since cloth is great for absorbing high frequencies in general, plushies can also be utilized strategically. If you have a giant plushie collection, now is the time to put it to good use. Now, you're probably familiar with the acoustic foam tiles, not to be confused with professional acoustic tiles that we mentioned earlier, but these in particular are found in rehearsal spaces and office spaces very commonly. As a sound absorber, they're designed to trap and attenuate sound waves in their pore structures by converting sound into heat. Much like most cloth items, they're generally more effective against higher frequencies. Sticking a few foam tiles here and there, however, isn't really going to help much, because even if you were to cover every inch of your room with acoustic foam, it would only dampen the higher frequencies and reduce flutter, sure, but it's practically useless against lower frequencies, and at that point, it's not really a cost-effective solution. But knowing what we know now, let's see how we can apply these concepts to our recording sessions. So generally the best place to record is going to be your closet. The mixture of wooden surfaces and an abundance of cloth makes it rather ideal for DIY recording sessions. Now, as a quick reminder, please don't lock yourself in your closet for hours on end. Yes, it might provide a cleaner sound, but hypoxia is very real, and overheating is also very real, so please don't do that. But what you can do instead is something similar to what I have displayed on the left. So by layering blankets on top of wooden closet doors, we can create an environment that absorbs a good amount of low, mid, and high frequencies. Now, to the right is my friend Mel's Squishmallow collection that we made good use of during a recording session at their place. Their collection was so massive that it absorbed all the reflections coming out of their voice while they sang into it. So like I said, if you have a massive plushie collection like this one, put it to good use because it very well may improve your entire recording experience by so much. While both of these setups are meant for vocal recordings, there's no reason why you can't apply these same principles to Foley or sound effects sessions. To increase the quality of your recorded audio, there are some simple but effective additional measures that can be taken. So here's a picture I took of a studio recording session I did around this time last year. And as you can see, we have giant carpets under the microphone stands. Thick carpets are great for blocking out vibrations that travel through the floors, which could greatly affect your audio. We also have thick blankets positioned in front of the microphones and behind where the vocalists are meant to stand. If you think about it, the reflections that are getting captured by the mics are the one hitting the front of the microphone, not the back. So while having a good amount of absorption behind the microphone facing the sound source is an effective way to minimize reflections, sound bounces in multiple directions at once. So having a thick blanket behind you helps absorb stray reflections bouncing around the room. Even in professional recording studios, you'll find that many of our measures look quite tacky and actually can be easily recreated at home. So here we just have two mic stands holding up a folded blanket, but I imagine it'd be pretty simple to recreate with a tall ladder and a thick comforter at home. Moving on to microphones. There are two main types of microphones, dynamic on the left and condenser on the right. Each offer their own strengths and weaknesses. Dynamic microphones pick up audio via a moving coil, which is basically a metal wire wrapped around a magnet. This is considered to be a type of passive circuitry and doesn't require any external power. So by design, they are less sensitive and suitable for loud events like conferences and concerts. Condenser microphones, on the other hand, detect sound via a capacitor. They require an external 48-volt power source known as phantom power to be functional, and by nature, they are more sensitive and suitable for studio and set recordings. So for our recording purposes, condenser mics are actually the preferred option. Further breaking down condenser microphones, there are three types of capsules: large diaphragm, small diaphragm, and shotgun. Each of them have their own characteristics and applications. Large diaphragm microphones have a wider image and are often considered to be warm and lush. They're good for softer sounds and great for dialogue and vocal recordings. Small diaphragm microphones have a narrower image and are much more neutral in nature. They're great for transient rich material and are suitable for capturing sound effects and Foley. Last, shotgun microphones produce an extremely narrow image, which makes them great for picking up sounds at a distance. Their extremely directional nature allows them to reject a great amount of room tone and make them suitable for set recordings and Foley. If you ever wondered what mics they have attached to boom poles on film sets, these are the microphones. And this is actually the type of microphone that's attached to me now and you're hearing me from. Let's talk about your options when it comes to recording setup. So, here's a more traditional setup when it comes to recording. You have your microphone, XLR cable, audio interface, headphones, mic stand, and pop filter. The audio interface acts as an external sound card that helps convert analog signals from your microphone into digital signals that your computer can register. It also provides phantom power to your condenser microphones, which is important because those are the type of microphones we are focusing on. In conjunction with your headphones, it allows you to monitor the audio that you're recording in real time and acts as a playback engine. Pop filters are optional. They help dampen harsh plosives, basically the P consonant, while recording speech or vocals. If you do not want to purchase them, you could always just use a pencil attached to your microphone and it does the same thing. The pros of this setup are that it produces high fidelity audio with high signal to noise ratio. That just means it has less noise and has a cleaner signal when you are recording. It also allows you to conveniently gain stage incoming signal while recording and is great for audio playback when mixing. By design, this is more suitable for speech and vocal recordings, but the cons are that the setup is quite costly and it's clunky in design, meaning that it's not very portable. It's no secret that recording equipment can be rather pricey. So if you're interested in recording your own sounds, I would recommend you look into the Scarlett bundles by Focusrite. According to the Tom Lee website, the Scarlett Solo bundle costs about $2,000, and the Scarlett 2i2 bundle, which offers an additional input, costs about $2,400. Both provide you with four of the most crucial pieces of recording equipment: a condenser microphone, an audio interface, an XLR cable, and a pair of headphones. And if you just acquire an additional microphone stand, you're pretty much good to go. Moving on from the traditional setup, here's a more modern solution. Handheld recorders are quite popular among sound designers, and they are especially great for outdoor recordings since they're highly portable. They offer a lighter and more cost-effective setup that are suitable for folks who are just starting out. So like we said, the pros of this setup are generally that it's more cost-effective and it's also portable, meaning that it's great for field recordings. And the interchangeable capsules offered by the Zoom models, like I have here specifically, give you the most bang for your buck. The cons of the handheld recorder, however, are that it has a lower signal-to-noise ratio than the more traditional setup. They're also prone to vibrations and low frequencies rumbles if you are not using a shock mount, as your hands may create small tremors and friction that may affect your audio. Additionally, the sound cards inside these recorders are not strong enough to act as a playback engine for mixing, so that is something you should take into consideration. As mentioned, many Zoom models offer interchangeable capsules, which give you a great deal of flexibility for a very reasonable price. With the capsules included from left to right, the Zoom H5 costs about $1,800, the Zoom F1 SP costs about $1,400, and the Zoom H6 costs about $2,200. Additional capsules range around from 500 to 1,000 Hong Kong dollars. Please note that headphones and SD cards are not included, so you'll have to take these additional costs into consideration. But with a similar and slightly lower price, you get more versatility over a traditional setup in certain ways. Next, let's take a look at software. Digital audio workstations are software designed to facilitate the recording, editing, mixing, and mastering of digital audio files. The first DAWs, like Pro Tools, were modeled off of old school studio recording systems, hence why they're not known for being the most user-friendly. But in this day and age, we have many DAWs to choose from with different strengths and weaknesses. Some of the more well-known examples are Pro Tools, Ableton, Logic Pro X, and Reaper. Here are three of the more low-budget options: Audacity, GarageBand, and its cousin Logic Pro X, and Reaper. Just because they're more affordable, though, doesn't mean that they're any less powerful than their expensive counterparts. Well, Audacity is another story, but let's start with Audacity. Compatible with any operating system, Audacity is a free open source DAW that has been a staple amongst amateurs since the 2000s. While it doesn't come with any plugins, there's a pretty comprehensive list of third-party plugins listed on their website which are compatible with Audacity, most which are free. The downside of Audacity, however, is that it doesn't offer multi-core support, meaning that it tends to overwhelm the CPU pretty easily. So if you're doing anything beyond simple vocal recordings, this might not be the way to go. Moving on to GarageBand and Logic Pro X, both are exclusive to Mac devices and are closed source software. GarageBand is free to Mac users and Logic Pro X costs about $1,500, but both have a great selection of stock plugins and offer multi-core support. Lastly, we have Reaper, which is another open source software that is compatible with any operating system. Priced around 500 Hong Kong dollars, it offers a 60-day free trial, making it great for beginners who are just starting out. It too offers a great selection of stock plugins and is famous for being extremely CPU efficient thanks to its maximum core usage. So if you're just starting out, I would take a look at Reaper first. Before you start recording, here is a quick checklist to go over. First, make sure your sample rate is set to at least 48 kilohertz, preferably 96 if you're working in a noisy environment. This gives you more wiggle room for denoising if necessary. Second, make sure your bit depth is set to 24 bits, not 16-bit. And third, make sure that phantom power is engaged. This is probably the step I forget the most and has me wondering why my microphone isn't working. But in fact, it's just that I don't have external power provided to my microphone. So make sure you check that. Fourth, make sure that the loudest instance of your incoming signal does not exceed 0 dB, preferably below 6 dB, dB being decibels. This gives you more headroom so that your audio doesn't clip, and if your audio does clip, meaning distort, there is no going back, so really make sure that you pay attention to this. Fifth, make sure that you're monitoring with your headphones at a comfortable volume. It's very important that the volume isn't too loud or else it might bleed back into your recording, which might cause a feedback loop. And last, make sure that all noisy appliances such as air conditioners, mini fridges, and dehumidifiers are off. If you don't turn them off, your life will be a lot more miserable when it comes to the mixing process. I understand that it can get very hot in the summer in Hong Kong, so if you were to record in the summer, please blast your AC at full, and when you're about to record, turn it off and quickly get everything that you need to do fully recorded and move on with your life. That's what I would suggest. That's what I've done in the past. It is truly worth it. Do not record with your AC on. And as a bonus, here are some Gore sound design examples that I put together for you. So I went ahead and recorded some vegetable crunches and meat impacts with my handheld recorder. I did this in my kitchen because I didn't want to create a mess in my bedroom. I thought I could get away with using a shotgun microphone, but I still ended up capturing a fair amount of flutter and reverb, so I had to go through a very intensive round of denoising first. Unironically, definitely should have listened to my own advice, and probably should have recorded in an affordable band rehearsal space that would have made my life a lot easier. But that being said, here is layer 1, which are just the denoise sounds played back to back. Next, in layer 2, this is where I organized the sounds in a more interesting manner and did some processing. So here's what that sounds like. And last, in layer 3, this is where I added some additional impacts and blood squirts that I found on a free sound library online. Now, I did mention that free sound libraries are hard to work with because they are very inconsistent in audio quality, and that is all true. So when looking through these libraries, you really want to make sure that your sounds are good, and they're at least at 48 kilohertz and at 24-bit. So I did quite a bit of digging until I found the sounds that I wanted, but eventually I did get there. I didn't want to get my microphone wet, so that's why I didn't record any liquid noises in the first place. And the impacts are just there to support the low frequencies that were lost during the denoising process. So everything put together, this is what that sounds like. And that's it for today. I hope you learned something. And if you want to know more about sound and recording in general, please come up to me after this presentation or feel free to reach out to me wherever you may find me. Thank you.